Welcome back, everyone, to the Williams Pulse. My name is Archer, and joining me today is my fellow co-host, Truitt.
Howdy.
Our guest this week on the podcast is WBU senior Destin Rhodes. He is involved in the Williams Work Program and is here to talk a little bit about our upcoming Fields of Faith event. But before we get into all of that, let's go over this week's news.
Alrighty, on Monday, we are having Men's Open Dorm, and it's Halloween themed. What are you dressing up as, Archer?
I will be dressing up as Willy Wonka this Halloween season.
Ooh la la.
And on Tuesday, we'll be having a women's volleyball game versus Mission at 6 p.m. Immediately after is Eagle Madness, which is the biggest event of the year. And I'm excited for that.
Go Eagles!
Go Eagles!
On Wednesday, we're having chapel, and our guest speaker for that day will be Josh Austin. And also, later that night, we're going to be having Fields of Faith at the Walnut Ridge football field. I'm very, very excited about that.
So am I. It will be starting at 7 p.m. that night, but if you want to get some free pizza, show up at 6:15 p.m. And on Thursday, we will be having Women's Open Dorm, which is also going to be Halloween themed. Later that night, there will be a women's volleyball game versus Central Baptist at 7 p.m.
Go Eagles.
Go Eagles.
Saturday, the women's volleyball team is playing against Tougaloo at 1 p.m.
Go Eagles.
Go Eagles. Also, on October 25th, we're having our preview day here at Williams Baptist University, which everyone is super excited for. To sign up for that, go to williamsbu.edu/preview. Now that we're finished with the news, Destin, let's talk a little bit more about Fields of Faith and what being part of FCA means to you.
Yeah.
All right, our first question is, can you explain what Fields of Faith is and how it started?
Okay, so basically Fields of Faith is a time where people gather together. It is a testimony service that FCA puts on. Basically, what it's going to look like is people will show up, we'll have food, specifically pizza. Once everybody's eaten and we kind of have a good time for fellowship, basically we'll go into worship service. So we'll have some songs that we're going to be singing. And then after the worship service, there will be testimonies that'll be given. It's a good time, great time to just sit in God's presence and just feel his love. As far as Fields of Faith, specifically at Williams, I'm pretty sure it started before I got here. So I'm a senior now, so a little over 4 years ago. But then COVID happened, so FCA kind of fell off and Fields of Faith kind of took a break. And then my sophomore year, it kind of came back. We had it at Walnut Ridge on the football field. And then the next year we had it at Walnut Ridge again. It rained, so we ended up having it in the gym. And this is the third consecutive year of us having it that I remember. It's going to be a good time.
Can you share some memorable moments from the past Fields of Faith events you've attended?
I've attended a lot of Fields of Faith events. So I'm originally from Hot Springs, right? And the Fields of Faith down there, you have schools all over Hot Springs. You have the big three schools, which is Lake Hamilton, Hot Springs, and Lakeside. It's held at Lakeside's football field. Don't quote me on this, but there's roughly 5,000 people that go to it. So it's a huge event. And that's my experience with Fields of Faith prior to coming to Williams. So being at Williams, I love the small community. It feels tight-knit like a family. One of my most, memorable experiences was last year. I actually got to lead worship, and it was just amazing. It was kind of crazy because talking to Bill and trying to get everything set up, I was very, very anxious, very nervous about everything because I had never, led in front of a Fields of Faith, like worship-wise. Because you're looking at about 250 people that show up, and it's for me, not having ever led or anything, it's a big, congregation. So I was extremely nervous. I had 3 songs picked out. I had no idea what was going to happen. I was really trusting in God at the time to get going and everything. And we start, and it's just like everything went blank, and it was just like I just felt God's presence. He was just moving, working. I want to say I don't remember how many people came to the Lord, but I know that we had some decisions that night. It was a great experience. People were worshiping. My favorite memory that I have of that night was I was in a chorus of a song. It was Great Are You, Lord, and we all just fell out, all the instruments, the drums, the bass, and it was just the congregation singing. Everybody stepped back from the mic, and it was just everybody singing at once, and it just made me think of like, this is what heaven's going to be like, We're all going to be singing. Nobody's going to care about, what denomination this guy is. What does he believe? We're all going to be worshiping Jesus. We're all going to be worshiping God, and that was just a surreal moment for me because I was just like, wow, this is what it's about. Yeah, that would probably be my favorite memory of Fields of Faith. So,
how did you first get involved with FCA and Fields of Faith?
So this goes back way back whenever I was a 6th grader. My first ever experience with FCA was actually an FCA camp, a camp in Lonsdale, Arkansas, Spring Lake. They were actually here on campus yesterday. They have it at Lonsdale at Spring Lake, and that was the first ever experience of FCA that I've ever had, and it was just awesome. The common misconception for FCA is that you have to be an athlete to attend, because, I mean, it literally stands for, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. But that's not the case. You can be an average Joe and come to an FCA event because Jesus is for everybody, not just athletes. So my first ever experience with FCA would be in 6th grade, going to the camp. First ever Fields of Faith experience was 6th grade in Hot Springs, the one at Lakeside. I'd never been to a big gathering of people that extent, like I said, roughly 5,000 people. And the same thing, it was surreal. The same thing happened. The worship leader stepped back from the mic, and it was just like, wow, this is it. This is real.
What would you say has been the most impactful part of your experience with FCA?
Most impactful part of my experience with FCA would definitely be getting to pour into others. So often we get caught up in wanting to feel God's presence, and longing for God's presence, and that's important. It's very important. But getting to share that with others is amazing. Specifically for me, it gives me a joy. I find that whenever I share Jesus with others, or just building people up rather than tearing people down, that we find in the community today, people also often tear people down rather than build anybody up. And I feel like getting to pour into others, getting to build them up, allowing Jesus to work through you in your everyday life, that's just awesome. And FCA has really allowed me to not only learn those skills, but build upon those skills. Because with FCA camp and then having Fields of Faith, getting to communicate the gospel to others is just, amazing.
How do you see Fields of Faith evolving in the coming years?
Seeing it evolve, I would use the word like growing. I would use the word getting more schools involved, right? Because we have students from Pocahontas, we have Williams Baptist, we have Hoxie High School, we have Walnut Ridge High School, but getting others, like we could spread it to Paragould come and get involved with it, just building it, growing it, see numbers grow. And when you see numbers grow, you see more decisions made because that's reaching more lost people, right? So having that grow and having the congregation know more about it, because something that I've found here is that when I went to Walnut Ridge High School to talk to the football team about it last year, I asked people who knows what FCA is. And I think maybe 3 people raised their hand. Everybody else had no clue what FCA was. That was really, really eye-opening to me, because coming from like southwest central Arkansas, FCA was really, really prevalent and just around. Everybody knew what FCA was. Even if you didn't attend an FCA meeting or an FCA huddle or a Fields of Faith, you knew what it was. And it was kind of crazy finding that, some of the football players, or actually the majority of the football players, had no idea what FCA was or what Fields of Faith was for that matter. So seeing it grow is really, really what I am looking forward to and what I'm excited to see in the future.
How does FCA support athletes and students in their faith journeys outside of these events? One
thing that FCA is really, really big on is discipleship, right? Finding a group of people, finding a singular person that somebody can pour into you, right? FCA is really, really built around having FCA huddles and having connect groups. FCA on Williams, we've done this in the past, but, with me being a part of Williams Works and classes and assignments and exams and things of that nature, it's really hard to meet throughout the week because everybody has busy schedules. But when speaking of FCA as a whole, they really, really harp on finding a group of people that you can surround yourself with and building a community upon. Having Jesus, having a spiritual mindset and just thinking about him constantly, that's what helps people grow. And FCA really, really harps on that and preaches that and wants people to find that community of people and find the discipleship in order for them to grow.
Well, thank you so much for listening, everyone, to The Pulse, but the conversation does not end here. Tune in next time for another great time with us, Truett, Archer, and Kinsman. Peace out.
See you guys later.